Hey guys, I'm Saurav and I'm very pleased to announce that I'm starting a new series on YouTube explaining you certain important stuffs about photography. Now, photography can be thought of as a structure made up of three pillars. One is the aperture, the second one is the shutter speed, and the third is the ISO. Aperture is one of the most important one. Why? Because it is actually adding a different dimension to your image by blurring the background and only focusing your subject. This is one thing. The second thing is it can magically bring your whole image into focus. So it controls basically the depth of field. Now what is depth of field? Depth of field is nothing but how much amount of image is in focus, right? That is depth of field. So it controls the depth of field and also the amount of light which is entering into the camera. Now think of aperture as a hole made in the lens. So larger is the hole, more is the light coming, smaller is the hole, less is the light coming. So in a nutshell, if your aperture is larger, the amount of light entering will be more. If your aperture is smaller, the amount of light entering will be less. So that is how aperture controls amount of light and the depth of field. But how is aperture expressed in terms of photography? Now, aperture is basically expressed in the terms of f-stops. Now, what are f-stops? F-stops are just certain numbers which is actually telling you the size or the diameter of the aperture, right? So that are f-stops. But now here people get confused. Now, if you increase the f-stop, that is you increase the f number, you are actually decreasing the aperture. So, increasing the f-stop, decreasing the aperture, increasing the aperture, decreasing the f-stop. So don't be confused here. Now at start it might seem a little bit confusing, but then after a couple of days of practice you will get used to it. So that was all technical and theoretical things about aperture. Now it might seem a bit boring since it was completely theoretical, but now let's go to the fun part. Now let's see how aperture is really affecting the final image that you're taking. So now I am at f2.5. Now I will decrease my aperture to f2.8, f3.5, f4.5. So now as you can see, as I'm decreasing the aperture, what I am doing actually is I'm bringing more of the background into focus. I'm including more of the background into my image. So when I'm going to f9 or maybe f11 or something like that, I'm getting more of the background. So according to the situation, you have to decide what f number you want to keep. So now if I switch back to f1.8, you're going to see that only particular subject is in focus and rest everything is blurred completely at f1.8. So now suppose you want a blurry background and only you want the particular subject in focus. So you have to shoot at f1.8 or f2.8 or f4. Anything about that is actually going to bring much of the background into focus. So if you are shooting portraits maybe, and if you want the background to be blurry, then shoot at around f2.8 or f4. On the other hand, suppose you're shooting a landscape scene, then you have the option to increase your f-stop, that is decrease the aperture, right? So the ideal range for shooting landscapes is around f8 to f11. Now you might be tempted to increase it beyond f11, like maybe f16 or maybe f22, but it seems a good idea, but actually it is not, because as you go on increasing the f-stop around f16 or f22, you're actually going to see some weird artifacts on your particular image, like the image might get softened a bit. You might see dust spots on your image, that those dust spots are actually on your sensor, and as you are decreasing the aperture, those dust spots will be revealed in your image. So you don't want those negative things to be in your image. So when you're shooting a landscape scene or you are shooting a scene where you want the foreground, the midground and the background, everything in focus, then the ideal range is to f8 to f11. So this was about shooting portraits and landscapes and how you should adjust your aperture according to the change in situation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two different creative shots which are taken by changing the aperture. The one will be a shot which will be a completely bokeh shot, and the second one I will show you how to shoot light stars. Now people believe that light stars are actually photoshopped, but it's not. It's an in-camera effect, and how to shoot that with the help of an aperture, I will show you that right now. So as you can see now at f2.5, the background is completely creamy because of the higher aperture, and only a certain part of the subject is in focus. For the second shot, what I have done is I have kept it at around f1.8 and I'm getting the beautiful bokeh. This shot I was at f2.5 and you can see the creamy background, and for the second shot I was at f1.8 as you saw in the video. Now I am at f6.3, and as you can see now I don't get the sun star, but as I'm decreasing the aperture to f14 or f16, here f14 is an ideal aperture, then I'm going to see the sun star. So you have to be around f14 or f16 to shoot such sun stars or light stars when you have a strong source of light in your images. So this is the final image which we have achieved by keeping the aperture at f14. So that was all about aperture and how to use it in photography. So this was the first episode telling you all about aperture. There are many such videos going to come in future where I'm going to explain you shutter speed, ISO, manual mode, how to shoot at night, and there will be some bonus videos for you. So if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and you can share these videos too with your photo enthusiast friends. So I hope you like this video and stay tuned to my channel for further more such tutorials. Have a great day. Bye.